All right, now that you've spent a little time evaluating where you're already strong and identifying some of the areas where you really want to get better, then we can talk specifically about what it takes to have good, strong practices. So, first of all, let me share with you a new practice that I've started doing. So, like I mentioned, I have a handful of practices. Some go in and out just based on what's happening in my life, but they're always kind of in my toolkit where I can grab them at the ready. So, a new practice that I've started implementing is a practice of doing nothing. That may not sound like much of a practice, but for someone like myself who's very high energy, very easily distracted, can totally have shiny object syndrome, and who finds it challenging to focus in depth in order to do the mundane sort of minutia of life. That is an area I identified that I really wanted to grow. I want to be better at doing boring shit. That's the thing. Like, I can easily get excited. I get a new idea. I have a project I want to work on, and I can jump right into it with super enthusiasm. And I can get a lot of things done really quickly. But then there's always a place in the process where it starts to get boring, where it takes a level of detailed work that I just am not interested in doing. And sometimes I can pass those projects along to somebody who's better skilled at the details, and that's great. But it's kind of impossible to be an entrepreneur in my position, running a business like I am, where I can altogether avoid all the boring things. It's just not possible. Like, there's just certain parts of life and of my business that are not my favorite, and yet they need to be done, and they need to be done by me. And there's a certain level of success that I will be unwilling to achieve if I can't do what I like to call the dirty work. Do the dirty work and just get it done. So I'm practicing my ability to be bored, to be understimulated, and really sort of push through with a level of patience and grit. So one of the practices that I'm doing is a practice of doing nothing. So every morning, it's the first thing I do. I get up and I make my coffee, and then I sit on the sofa and I drink my coffee. I guess that's what I'm doing, right? It's maybe not nothing. I'm drinking my coffee and I'm looking out the window. So I'm not meditating, which is another one of my practices. I'm not writing my morning pages, which is another one of my practices. I'm literally doing nothing. I'm just kind of letting my mind move and bounce around from idea to idea, which it has a bajillion. In the matter of 20 minutes that I sit there to do nothing, my mind is all over the place. And I can feel the compulsion within me to pick up my phone and send a quick message, or get into action on something. It almost feels like if I don't do it right now, I'm going to miss it. I'll forget it. I'll never do it. And so the practice is really letting those little bits of things come into my mind and stimulate me. And rather than immediately react to them, just let them be there and do nothing in response to them. Now, it's hard. It's totally hard. Because, like I said, I'm going to forget. I need to just write that down really quick, or whatever the thought might be. It really takes something for me to just keep sitting there and doing nothing. So that brings me to this point. There are 3 things that we need in order to have our practices be effective. And the first thing is we have to have the willingness to do things differently than we've ever done them before. Normally, when the thought comes into my mind, oh, I need to respond to so-and-so's message, I want to do it immediately. And I'm resisting the urge by just waiting and doing nothing, trusting that that thought's going to come back around. I won't lose it forever. So the willingness to do things differently that might be uncomfortable and totally against our more automatic default impulses. Secondly, we have to have clear, specific actions to take. So I have a specific amount of time that I'm going to sit and I'm going to do nothing. That's the specific action that I'm taking, is to take no action for 20 minutes. Now, like I said, I have a practice of meditation. So again, that's a specific thing that I'm doing in a specific way. And there's a time and a place in which I'm doing it. So when we're going to practice something, it has to be specific and it has to be actionable. And then third, and definitely not last, we need patience. We have to have patience and a consistency if we're going to build a muscle. You don't go to the gym, lift weights one day, and then all of a sudden have newfound strength. It takes a while. It takes consistency, and you have to have the patience to keep showing up, keep doing the work, and see it through. But like I said, when the moment comes in your life that you really do need the strength for whatever that is, you'll be so glad you did the reps and you put in the work and you built those muscles. Okay. Do you have those three things? Are you willing to do things differently than you've ever done before? Are you willing to commit to some clear, specific actions you can take? And can you put on your patient pants? Because it's going to take a little time to build this, and your commitment is going to be key. Okay, next week, we're going to brainstorm through some various actions that you could take, some practices that you could implement to support you in various areas. I'll see you then.